Mont Kiara, Kuala Lumpur, was a place I once called home. The apartment complex I lived in was luxurious and well-designed. Alternating rows of buildings separated by open-air spaces, complete with swimming pools, gyms and landscaped gardens. My unit was on the 10th floor, offering a view of the neighbouring building across an open courtyard. But no amount of modern design could prepare me for the terror that would unfold. I've always been a creature of habit. Some might call it borderline obsessive. I call it discipline. My routines are sacred. My laptop must sit in a specific position, the TV volume at an exact level, and my day scheduled down to the minute. Back then, one ritual ruled my evenings. After dinner at precisely 10 p.m, I'd step out onto the balcony for a smoke. Then I'd return for dessert, make tea, and head back out for a second smoke. It wasn't just habit, it was discipline. Breaking it wasn't an option. It started one night like any other. I was leaning against the balcony railing, enjoying my first cigarette, when I noticed a sudden light flicker on in the apartment directly across from mine. It wasn't an ordinary room light. It was brighter, harsher, like a spotlight. Then I saw it. From below the windowsill, a figure began to rise, slowly, deliberately. I froze, the cigarette halfway to my lips. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, it was there, a shadowy silhouette, its features obscured by the blinding light behind it. My breath hitched. Even without seeing its face, I could feel its eyes locked on me. I turned away, trying to shake off the unease, but I couldn't resist glancing back. The figure hadn't moved. It just stood there, unmoving, staring. A cold shiver ran down my spine. My cigarette burned down to the filter as I fumbled to flick it away and retreated inside. I tried to calm myself with dessert and tea. It's nothing, I told myself, just a neighbor being weird. 15 minutes later, convincing myself it was just a coincidence, I stepped back out for my second smoke. My routine demanded it, and breaking it wasn't an option, no matter how uneasy I felt. The moment I lit my cigarette, the light across the courtyard flickered on once more. My heart sank. Slowly, the figure rose into view, exactly as before. It was watching me. My chest tightened as I noticed something new. Its hands, or what should have been hands, they weren't normal. They were grotesque, claw-like, curling unnaturally. My skin prickled, but I stood my ground, taking shaky drags from my cigarette. I froze. My instincts screamed at me to look away, to go inside, but my legs wouldn't move. I locked eyes with the figure, its unyielding stare meeting mine in a tense, chilling standoff. Finally, I snapped out of it, threw my cigarette to the ground and fled inside, locking the balcony door behind me. For weeks, the figure appeared sporadically, once or twice a week at most. Each time, the sequence was the same. The light would flicker on, the figure would slowly rise into view, and then it would stand motionless, locked in an unnerving stare. My fear grew with every encounter, but skipping my balcony ritual wasn't an option. It was ingrained in me, a part of who I was. So I kept going, forcing myself to endure the growing unease. Then, about a month later, it started happening every night. The figure's presence became increasingly sinister, and that's when the noise began. It began faintly, almost imperceptibly, like a low growl at the edge of hearing. Over time it grew louder, more guttural, as if whatever was across the way was trying to communicate, or worse, taunt me. The sound was unnatural, reverberating in my chest, shaking my resolve. Every night the sequence repeated like clockwork. The light would flicker on, the figure would rise, and the growl would begin. My fear turned to dread, and eventually dread turned to panic. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I started questioning my sanity. The breaking point came one night when I stood paralyzed on the balcony, cigarette trembling in my hand, as the guttural growl grew louder than ever. My terror peaked as my imagination spiraled. I didn't just fear it anymore, I believed it. I could almost see the figure crossing the void between us, scaling the balconies, and creeping toward me. That thought was enough to shatter my resolve. Unable to endure it any longer, I made the only choice I could. I had to leave. I abandoned the apartment that night, retreating to a hotel while I searched for a new place. But even after I moved, the memories clung to me, like shadows I couldn't escape, replaying in my mind like fragments of a recurring nightmare. For years I couldn't talk about what had happened. It was too strange, too unsettling. I left it behind, or so I thought. Then, on a business trip to Brunei, I stopped by a mamak restaurant for dinner. A boy, maybe in his late teens, approached me with a polite smile and asked to share my table. His face was unfamiliar, but there was something about his demeanor that felt oddly familiar. "You're from Malaysia, right? Mont Kiara?" he asked as he settled into the chair across from me. I blinked in surprise. "Yes," I lived there years ago. Do I know you? The boy grinned. Sort of. I lived across from your apartment building. My heart skipped a beat. Oh, I said cautiously, so we were neighbors then? Sort of, he replied, his voice laced with hesitation. Actually, I need to tell you something. I leaned forward, intrigued and slightly wary. You remember the figure you used to see? He asked. My blood ran cold. Yes, you saw it too. He let out a nervous laugh, hesitating for a moment before blurting, yeah, that was me. What? I whispered, my voice barely audible. I noticed how you'd come out every night at the exact same time for a smoke, he said, trying to suppress a laugh. So I thought it'd be funny to prank you. I used a spotlight and would crouch below the window before slowly rising up. The claws? Just gloves I found lying around. And the growl was an animal sound effect on my computer. For a moment I couldn't speak. The trauma, the sleepless nights, the fear, it all came flooding back. Madharshad, it was you, I finally exploded. You little motherfucker, you traumatized me for life. The boy looked genuinely sorry, but my anger melted into something else. As I stared at his sheepish grin, I burst into uncontrollable laughter. We laughed until tears rolled down our faces. The same boy who'd terrified me beyond reason was now my companion over a plate of roti canai. The absurdity of it all was too much to handle. That night, we became friends. And to this day, whenever I tell the story, I can't help but laugh at how a bored kid with a spotlight turned my life upside down. Thank you for watching aikdastaan, where every tale is a testament to the human spirit and every voice resonates with the truth as they perceive it.